All right, guys, time for part two of combining like terms. This is actually going to be a combination of our first video and our video from like all the way last Friday. All right, so just a reminder from our first video, we learned that when you're combining like terms, you can only combine them if they have the same letters with the same exponents or power. When you're combining like terms, you're going to add or subtract only the coefficients, the numbers in front of the variables. You're going to keep the variables the same. If you have two terms that are literally just numbers and have no variables attached to them, you're also allowed to combine those together. And then I'm going to add one new thing right now, which is if you see parentheses in a problem, you have to distribute first. After you've distributed, then you can combine like terms. This is kind of similar to our order of operations, which says multiplication comes before adding. Distributing is a type of multiplying. Combining like terms is a type of adding. So we want to make sure we're staying with our order of operations. All right, let's jump in with some examples. In both of these problems, we have parentheses, which means we're going to have to distribute. Now, hopefully you remember from on Friday, when we're distributing, we're taking the number that's right next to the parentheses, and we're distributing it to each term inside the parentheses. Terms, again, are separated by adding and subtracting. So I'm going to multiply the 8 times the 2x, and then I'll multiply the 8 times the 3y. That'll give me 16x and 24y. Notice that the minus sign stayed there. When I see my second set of parentheses, I have a 4 that's right next to it, so I'm going to distribute again. I'm going to make sure to circle the plus sign with the 4 so I remember it's a positive 4. You do want to pay attention to the signs of your numbers. I'm going to multiply the positive 4 times the y. That's just going to make positive 4y. Then I'll multiply the positive 4 times the minus 3x, and that should make a negative 12x. Again, notice that my variables are not changing. Once you're done distributing and you have just an adding and subtracting problem, now you're going to combine like terms. In our previous video, we talked about writing everything in alphabetical order, so I'm going to start with my letter x's. I have a positive 16x and a negative 12x. So in my head, I'm going to do 16 minus 12. And then I'm going to write a letter x after that number. So 4x is my final answer for my x's. And then I need an answer for my y's. So I have, and remember to keep the sign with it, I've got a negative 24y and a positive 4y. So negative 24 plus 4 is negative 20, and then keep the letter y attached. Since these terms have different variables, one has an x and one has a y, I'm now done with this problem, 4x minus 20y. Let's do our next example. In this one, again, I have distributing. You want to make sure that you're finding the number immediately outside the parentheses, and you are distributing it to each term in the parentheses. Once you hit the end of the parentheses, you're no longer need to distribute. So I'm going to do the 4 times the 3x. I'm going to do the 4 times the 7y. For my next parentheses, I've got that 2, but remember, we're circling the symbol as well. So I'm actually not going to distribute a 2. I'm going to distribute a negative 2 because it was being subtracted. So negative 2 times x is minus 2x. And then here's where you have to really make sure you're distributing the negative. Negative 2 times negative 3y, a negative times a negative, that's going to change into a positive. So that's going to be a plus 6y. Be very careful about that. And then that's the end of my parentheses, so I'm done distributing. Now I do have this extra term over here. It was not in a parentheses, and it wasn't like right next to a parentheses. So I'm just going to leave it tacked at the end of the problem, so plus x. Now that I have no more parentheses, I'm done with my distributing. Now I can combine like terms. Now you do want to combine all of the like terms together. I know in all of our examples we've only had 2 of each, but you can have more than 2. So when I see a 12x here, I want to find all my terms that have x's. So I have a 12x, I have a minus 2x, and I have this plus x at the end. So I actually have 3 like terms, and that's totally fine. You are allowed to have more than 2 that can combine together. I'm going to add all of my coefficients together. So I have a 12 and a minus 2, which makes 10. And then this x at the end here, it doesn't have a coefficient, but it has an invisible 1. So if you ever have a variable that does not have a number in front of it, that means it's going to have a 1 in front of it. So again, starting at the beginning, 12 minus 2 is 10. 10 plus an invisible 1 is 11. So I have 11 x's. And then the last thing I need to do, I need to combine together my y's. I have a 28y and a 6y. And when I add those together, I get 34y. Again, since those are different letters, we're done with this problem. That concludes this video.